Hi lovelies and welcome to the Witch's Cookery. Today I want to talk about things I wished I knew before becoming a witch. If you are a beginner witch just starting out in your witchcraft practice, I hope there are some useful little insights in here for you. And if you're a seasoned practitioner, maybe you'll find yourself in some of the things I have to share today. Now, I did start my witchcraft journey into the world of wonder as a little naive witchling more than 2 decades ago. So who the f remembers what I was thinking back then? Barely remember what I had for lunch today. But I did include some things that I experienced personally, as well as some stuff that I now observe in the witchcraft community or read in online groups, comments, and so on. Obviously, access to information with the internet has changed a lot since the late noughties. So witchcraft beginners nowadays face a whole different battery of topics or struggles or misconception in witchcraft. By the way, if you want to see more on the topic, I already made 2 other videos with similar topics that I'll link up and below. Let's dive into the 10 things I wish I knew before becoming a witch. Number 1, studying in witchcraft is not quite straightforward. You can't learn witchcraft like you would learn another language or mathematic rules. Learning in witchcraft doesn't mean opening a book and blindly learning all the correspondences and all the crystals and all the herbs and whatnot. It means doing your own research and finding what fits you. Everything you find in witchcraft books are merely suggestions from the author or personal experience from the author. They're not rules written in stone. They might have their own history and cultural background behind it, but it doesn't make them an all-encompassing rule or truth. So there's a plethora of ways to practice witchcraft, and in order to find out what suits you best, you have to be a little bit more proactive than just reading and memorizing something. That said, you can practice witchcraft whatever way you want. So if something in a book immediately resonates with you, you can also just learn it and do it that way. But also understand if people do it differently, it's because they didn't mesh with that. They found their own way. And that doesn't mean that either of you is right or wrong. What I want to say with that, don't be afraid to think for yourself and try for yourself. Personally, I find that it makes for a much more empowered experience. If there are no real rules or ways on how to exactly do something, you also cannot make that many mistakes. So try out if something works, great. If something doesn't work, shut it down as a learning experience. Number 2, and that's an example from my starting days, because back in the days people were very set on the feminine energy and the sisterhood in witchcraft. I feel that still lingers in people's heads a little bit. I often get comments from male witches asking if they're less powerful or if they can be a witch if they're male. Yes, of course you can. Love, your vajayjay is a wonderful thing. It can do so many really nifty things like birthing crotch goblins and giving you private pleasure, and if you're really skilled you can also take part in Japanese ping pong tournaments. But magic is not necessarily one of the things that come out of there. Not saying that it can't be, because hello sex magic, but I would hope that it's not the source of your witchcraft powers. I would hope that would be more anchored in here. Also, men, now please don't be jealous upon all the awesome things that we can do with our lady parts. You can pee standing up, and you know how handy that would have been back in my student days. Very. On that topic, I never liked descriptors like female and male energy. I do know what people mean with that when they use it, and it gets used a lot in witchcraft. Personally, I do think it perpetuates stereotypes and gender roles, and there are better ways to describe what you mean than actually putting a gender on it. Men can be soft and caring, and women can be powerful go-getters, and to be very frank, pretty aggressive bitches. In my eyes, that doesn't give them more male or female energy, it just gives them human energy and certain attributes. Summary, witchcraft is for everybody, regardless what's hanging or not hanging between your legs, and it's a wonderful tool to enrich in your life. Number 3, deity work. Not all witches work with deities, and it's not a requirement to do so. When I started out, all the information was still very Wicca influenced, so that was a big part of what people practiced. There were a lot of Hecate chants and whatnot flying around the beginnings of the internet. And I feel that has carried on to today. That's like a question I see very frequently posted in Facebook groups. How do you know what your patron and matron deity is? How to connect with deities? And a lot of people seem to have that misconception that it's an integral part of witchcraft. There are a bunch of secular, agnostic, atheist witches out there that don't bring that religious aspect into their craft. They just practice witchcraft as a lifestyle. If you're not following a certain pagan path, you just might not feel like you need to involve any deities. Personally, as I'm not religious, this is not part of my practice. Also, on that topic, don't take it too literal. Yes, some people do believe in the actual existence of those deities and that they can communicate with them, but other witchcraft practitioners only see them as stereotypes. They don't really believe in an existence of the deity, but they use it as a sort of tool to connect to certain goals, dreams, aspirations. Again, ask yourself, what do you believe? Tying into number 4, you don't have to believe in everything. You don't have to believe in woo-woo if you don't want to. You don't have to believe in spirits and entities and portals and whatnot. Personally, that is not part of my practice and it doesn't exist in my reality. Might exist in yours, and that's great. We can both live our happy life and practice our witchcraft in the way we see fit. That was actually something that I didn't have to struggle with when I started my path, because the internet was just not yet as advanced and there were not groups like that where you could chat. But now sometimes when I'm on my phone and I scroll through things and people are like, oh my god, I forgot to draw a circle and now a dark spirit entity entered my home, which for them is probably very scary and it is very real to them. If I would have read that as a very young witch, I either would have been scared or more likely, because I was always a little skeptical bugger, would have been like, oh my god, all these people here are insane. This is not my crowd. Now that I'm more reflective and older, I do understand that everyone has their own belief and their own reality. That also means if you don't believe in the existence or the importance of that, you don't have to hold yourself up with practices like banishing that or salting every door stoop of your house if you don't want to, drawing circles. And you can rather focus on practices, spells, rituals, charms that are rooted in your own beliefs, and it will enrich your life and your practice. Summary: if you're just starting out as a witch, you don't have to believe everything. You shape and make your own reality. Personal example: I don't believe in astrology, I don't believe in retrogrades and all that jazz. Probably a very unpopular opinion to have for a witch, but I still watch YouTubers that talk about that and I find it fascinating what they can find for themselves in those kind of practices. You fish on your side of the lake, I fish on mine, and no one fishes in the middle, to quote Kirk from Gilmore Girls. Number 5, credibility of websites, online creators in the witchcraft community, authors, everyone that has a public opinion and shares those with others. All of these groups, me included, even though I do try to avoid it the best I can, tend to present their experiences as fact, or often forget to add in my experience or personally, based on my own belief system, which with every witchcraft content in whatever form you consume, you should always add at least in your head. All these things might work for those people, but you might not vibe with them as well. And if it's presented as a rule or as a fact, then it can easily feel for someone that's just starting out as if they cannot really connect to witchcraft in general or to a certain practice just because they maybe read about a spell or ritual or practice from a person they don't share common ground with. Meaning, please also question everything I say in this video and ask yourself, is that true for me? What I say is not law. I also feel that a lot of times people trust books too much. We're so conditioned from school to be like, oh yeah, I have to take this book and then learn everything from it and then know everything on that subject. And it does work well for a lot of sciences, languages, and so on. It doesn't work for a practice like witchcraft that is so widespread and has so many influences from all over the world, folk witchcraft from all directions that all have a different belief system. So unless that book comes with an index of quotations from proper, conducted and peer-reviewed scientific studies, I wouldn't put too much weight into it. Witchcraft is not a science, it's a personal experience. Leads straight into point number 6. There is no right, there is no wrong. It's all about personal belief and opinion. So if someone disagrees with the way you practice your magic, you do a certain spell or ritual or cleanse your house, do a banishment spell or protection charm, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that that other person has a different way of doing it. And even if there's something that you read or hear over and over again, doesn't make it true either. It just means that a lot of people picked it up, considered it a rule, or maybe preferred that way, and then regurgitated it over and over again. And this is how beliefs are basically shaped, and this is how they sink in our heads. But again, personal preference. There is no right or wrong way how to do tarot. There is no right or wrong way how to smoke cleanse your house. There is no right or wrong way how to meditate, and so on and so forth. Number 7, how long someone has practiced says nothing about their ability or, can't think of the word, knowledgeable ability of that person in witchcraft. Yes, they might have tried more, they might have researched more, they might have more knowledge in terms of they read a lot of books, and they do have ideas what's going on in different cultures and where different things stem from. But you can also do a thing all your life long while being absolutely in a rut. It's very easy to get in a rut and to put on the thing that horses wear for the flies. Or that they don't get scared. Why do they actually wear that? I don't know. If you know, let me know in the comments down below. Unless you're someone that constantly self-reflects, improves, and asks feedback from others, chances are you might get stuck in your ways. While someone that is just new to the practice might dabble in different things and might actually find out more for themselves. It's great if you found what works for you. That's lovely, and you can definitely share that with people if they want that. But again, be careful not to present it as a rule or as is. That's just your way. Number 8. Magic also lies in the little things. I do remember reading through the 2 websites that back then existed that had all the witchcraft information, where there was a lot of inspiration for certain rituals and spells, and they were also big and fancy, and it involved a lot of stuff, and just, you know, it was all very ritualistic kind of magic, which is not my style at all. If you know my channel, I love to find the magic in the mundane. So that is something that I did find a little bit off-putting in the beginning, because really if you don't want to do them, there is no need for candle spells, there is no need for cleansing baths, there is no need for an entire crystal collection. If you just want to stir some love in your soup and call that witchcraft, or take a walk in nature, hug a tree, that can be witchcraft too. The entire power lays in the intent behind it and how you use that method for yourself in order to feel the magic, to feel the energy, or to feel that it works in one way or another for you. For me personally, witchcraft is an entire lifestyle, and how you incorporate little cheerful magical sparks into your everyday life, and not the amount of time you sit down to do tarot or runes or chat naked around a bonfire, howl to the moon. For me, a big part of my magic only happens in my mind. Number 9, levels of magic. Also something from all the ritualistic witchcraft books and websites that were floating around in my youth. They spoke of hierarchies or levels of magic, like lower magic and then higher magic and advanced magic. I actually haven't researched where that stems from. It might stem from Wicca practices. Again, if you know, please educate down in the comment section. Personally, I don't quite buy into that entire concept. There are for sure a lot of beginner-friendly practices that can help you further your witchcraft, like visualization and meditation and just finding a general understanding of how magic could work for you. But then it can be kind of off-putting if there are people out there that say like, oh, you shouldn't do shadow work unless you're really advanced in witchcraft, or you shouldn't do deity work. And it really depends on your background. Let's say you have been in therapy for a big part of your life, or maybe you come from a healthcare psychological background. Shadow work for you might not be that big of an issue to get into, because you already know the tools, you already know how to reflect or what it can do for you. It doesn't really have anything to do with how long you have practiced witchcraft. Now, I don't do deity work, but then again, it depends on your belief system. Do you believe it is real, or do you only use it as an archetype? Because if you use it as an archetype, where's the real danger in diving into that? Or maybe you come from a religious background, and it can really be anything from Christianity to pagan beliefs, and you want to incorporate that from the start in your witchcraft practice. Do it. If there's a certain practice that people label as higher magic, but you're really interested in it, why would you want to wait? Like, if it's interesting to you, it's often a very great motivator and a very great teacher to dive right into that and really learn all about it, instead of dabbling with candle magic or one tarot card pull a day if that's not your thing. Last but not least, you don't need stuff. Using this as a shameless plug for some of my DIY and thrift store videos linked everywhere. Again, having grown up where mostly Wicca was prevalent for research material, this is what put me off the most. Where I was almost like, no, this isn't for me. All the rituals, all the spells, all the descriptions were like, you need a athame, you need a knife that looks this and that, you need a, like, what's it called? Cauldron. Me, barely a teenager, of course, didn't have any money. I mean, it was already a struggle to get my parents to buy me an ice cream. You think they would have bought me a ritual knife? I don't think so. So instead I did do a lot of the suggested practices that didn't involve any of the rituals and different candle colors and incense of some sort, like meditation, visualization, kitchen witchery, sitting in nature. And I kind of did shape my path as well, but I'm very happy with that. In the end, you can customize every spell, every ritual, everything, so you don't need any tools at all. Rewrite things so they fit your possibilities and needs. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any misconceptions about witchcraft that you had, or things you wish you knew before becoming a witch, please leave them down below, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.